Hey man, let me ask you something. When I say Bethesda, what do you say? Exactly. I never really liked Bethesda much. The monotone characters, the fetch quests, the clunky gameplay, the best. Also, gonna be honest, I have never really forgiven them for the absolute mediocre roleplaying in Fallout 4 and like everything about Fallout 76. And now, once again, with Starfish, the absolute Bethesda is shining through with normal people, you know, the people who don't want to spend $100 just to play a video game 5 days earlier, having to wait for the actual release, while the people who do want to spend $100 get to play it early. Yeah, so with all of that positivity out of the way, I actually kinda like Starfield, but man, barely. Let me explain. Let's talk about the bad things first.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
First of all, let me show you two different fights. One from the first hour of the game and the other one from the last day before finishing the story. Can you tell the difference? Yeah, me neither. From the very start you can just beeline your enemies and watch as they spaz out, commit unalive, or stare at each other while the fighting is going on, or while you are trying to shoot them with hitboxes that don't even register properly. Perks like add 10% damage to pistols or shotguns don't add anything whatsoever to the experience. Every fight feels the same, with enemies not being a challenge at all, even on higher difficulties. The weird thing is that they were on the right track.
Oh no! I've come off the rails!
With these perk challenges, but then immediately fucked up again by adding perks that are a must-have, meaning that you will essentially always waste skill points on them on every playthrough. For example, adding a combat slide or a stealth meter are things that should already be in the game from the start, not something that has to be unlocked, or at least not via a perk system. If you're gonna go the route of adding completely mandatory and necessary gameplay elements via perks, then why stop at, say, stun locking during combat? Because that happens constantly and there's no way for me to fix that, no matter how many perks I get or how I build my character. Loot spam is just as terrible as any other Bethesda game, and as always, actually accessing your inventory is just as bad. When I loot a guy or a chest, I have no clue what I'm looking at. Is this food, a weapon, a miscellaneous item?
I don't know!
Just pick it up and go look for it in your inventory. You can decide to transfer items instead of looting them to see what they are, but it's just another unnecessary step for me to take. Instead of being able to just straight up eat and drink food that's laying around, you first have to open up your inventory and press the desired item. So before you know it, you will either just dump all of these items in your ship's inventory or on the nearest porch of a poor unemployed space miner.
Are you quite sure you don't want to hold on to...
Give me a break! Or, as an alternative, you can look for someone to buy all of this crap off of you. But trading with NPCs absolutely blows as well. Instead of having everything in one menu, in which you can simultaneously buy and sell, you constantly have to flip-flop back and forth between buying and selling, meaning you also can check, for example, what type of ammo your weapon is using at the time. Can you just remember? Sure. Could they have just added it for convenience? Sure. When you want to buy ship parts to repair your, well, ship. Surely you can do that with either the guy who repairs your ship or the kiosk adjacent to him, right? Right?
No.
Why not? Oh, but lo and behold, of course, they added the infamous Bethesda inspect option, because what would I do with my life if I didn't have that? The dialogue options have been improved on in comparison to Skyrim and Fallout 4, but to be fair, that wasn't that hard.
I'd really like to come in.
Get out of here.
Come on, let me in.
Have it your way.
Nonetheless, a lot of dialogue is still incredibly cringy, and the game still can't help but spell everything out for you, like when you're trying to romance a character, as the developers were afraid you were too stupid to understand how to flirt with women, which in hindsight is fair considering the average Bethesda fan. The writing in general has improved though, but man, I lost the footage, but there was one part where you were talking with a companion and he said something along the lines of, "Oh, we need this really badly." And then the flirt option was your character saying, "I want you badly." It's like, dude, what the fuck? Unless you've been watching with your eyes closed, Starfield takes place in space, which must mean that there's an amazing space traveling system, right? No. When you travel somewhere, you at first need to travel to the system by clicking on it and pressing the travel button. Okay, whatever. But then when you've arrived, you need to open your map again. Press the planet you want to go to again, and then press the travel button again, but now to just land. Then, when you've landed, you'll realize that the spot you need to go to for a quest is still a minute or two away, but as land vehicles don't exist, you're forced to just walk there. You can technically land everywhere on a planet instead of these predetermined locations, but it's often hard to see where you have to go before doing the actual, well, landing. On top of that, because the game is so hell-bent on doing everything via a fast travel system, sometimes landing next to a landing pad doesn't even register the next part of the quest properly, meaning that you are essentially stuck using the predetermined landing pads the game wants you to use. Land on the surface of... But this is the surface! I'm sure some people will say, well yeah, but this is due to technical limitations. Which would have made so much sense if we somehow forced Bethesda to add 600 planets that are empty, but we didn't. So then why not make 15 or 10 or just 5 planets that are actually alive? With shit to do on it. You know it's a Bethesda game whenever quantity gets chosen over quality. It's like the game knows that its traveling system absolutely blows as well, as it gives you the button prompt to just fast travel everywhere the second you discover something. Do you want to know how it knows that it sucks? Because whenever you don't fast travel, this is what you can expect. Nothing. No music, nothing to look at, just a blank 4K stars wallpaper background surrounded by endless nothingness. Like, dude, I'm gonna be honest, yeah? I didn't even like Skyrim and Fallout 4 all that much, but even I sometimes miss the open world of those games, as traversing it meant running into new people and places to explore every 5 minutes or so. And it's so much easier to make the galaxy an interesting place to visit if you just let your mind run rampant than one country or one state. But still, for whatever reason, they decided to remove the space exploration from a space exploration game.
My genius is... it's almost frightening.
You would also think that since humanity has discovered space travel, we would have found easier ways to communicate with each other than constantly having to head over to someone, hear them say 4 dialogue lines, and then being sent on our way again. But nope. 90% of the quests are designed like this. Go somewhere, get sent someplace else after 4 dialogue lines. Go somewhere, get immediately sent someplace else after 4 dialogue lines. Go somewhere, get sent someplace else. Go somewhere, get sent someplace else. The quest system is the embodiment of mandatory, on-location team meetings that could have just been an email. I honestly think that might just be the biggest issue of it all. The game just feels empty. The blank facial animations, the fact that people have no reaction when you point a gun straight at their face, or when they keep talking and you can't interrupt them no matter what you do, or that the police have no response when you empty an entire magazine in front of their feet, the endless walking through empty, barren landscapes with nothing to do in them, except for play no Starfield's sky. Oh, no, wait, my bad. You can place settlements on them. Oh, no. Wrong game. They're called outposts in this game. I would actually recommend to try to learn how these things work, as it does the same thing Fallout 4 did, where you most likely completely ignored everything related to this mechanic for the entire game. And then when you reach like the final hour of it, they're suddenly like, oh, by the way, you need to build a lot with these settlements. Have fun. Which just really sucks because, listen, I can see it. Alright, like when I squint my eyes and really turn on the brain gears, there is something beautiful in Starfield. Discovering new cities and throwing yourself into new quests and adventures. Just staring out into empty space, wondering what's out there with your companion, with you, who you've grown oddly close to. Stumbling across a random spaceship in the middle of nowhere. Thinking nothing of it, but then realizing the inside is massive and filled with secrets to uncover. These moments are present, these moments are immersive, these moments are very rare. The idea was great, the execution was terrible, which could be Bethesda's slogan or motto by now. But hey, bonus points for making gyms that actually represent real life ones. Oh, nobody re-racks their weights here, huh? Last but not least, the fucking user interface. It's just menu after menu, everything loads so slow, even on an SSD. And even if it doesn't load slow, you're looking more at loading screens than at actual gameplay. The fact that I have to scroll through every item in my inventory instead of just giving me a search filter, it just feels amateuristic. By now, you are either intrigued by everything that I'm saying, or at least somewhat agree with it, or you're just about done with your hate comment. So let's actually talk about some positive things now. There's plenty of side content to be done, and at least this time there is some role playing to be done in said side content. Something we'll get to more elaborately in a second. Rescue hostages for the Rangers, a guy has a debt that needs to be paid, infiltrate a charity event for criminals to steal some loot, build a ship, craft some shit. The list of things to do is endless. Next, which may honestly be the most important to me, a silent protagonist. A silent protagonist allows for more diverse dialogue lines, and they are pretty good, ranging from your typical I'm the hero stuff to being cocky or even acting like a sarcastic asshole. The character creation looks pretty cool as well. You can at least make characters that don't look like they've been born 4 months prematurely, but character creation has always been quite a strong suit in Bethesda games. The amount of apparel you can find and buy is also very impressive, and most of them look really cool. All of them have different strengths and weaknesses as well, so depending on your playstyle you can search for gear that fits your character better.
That sounds good.
Whenever you've set up what type of character you want to be, the amount of good and evil you can inflict upon others is pretty impressive compared to other Bethesda titles. If you want to be a space ranger taking care of the bad guys, go ahead. But if you want to be a space pirate, that's also possible. As we have a blank slate of a character now who doesn't speak, we can give them a bit of a backstory that actually shows up later in game, like with dialogue checks representing your background, the faction or factions you have decided to join, and the skills you are proficient in, and even something like visiting your parents. The latter is decided by character traits, allowing you to pick bonuses that will always have a negative side effect attached to them, or counter out other types of bonuses, which is just pretty fun, right? You gain some, you lose some. I've seen people cry that there are no city maps. It's like, bro, the game is already telling you 90% of the fucking time where you need to go. At least use your imagination once in your life. Read a sign before you go, Fender, Starfield. I thought you guys liked all of those empty balls of gas due to the exploration. Go and explore a fucking city! Companions are quite involved in everything that's going on, and they will often respond to things or have dialogue options in both the main and side quests. I wouldn't say that they're on the same level as the Fallout 4 companions, which I really liked, but most of them were quite enjoyable, while others, were quite enjoyable, while others were just really boring. Speaking of the main quest, it's alright this time, but it's still a Bethesda game, meaning that within like the first 4 minutes you are deemed as either the hero or like the chosen one, as you have a special talent or ability that no one else has, and you will spend the rest of the game either collecting items to enhance the special aspect of yourself, or at least people who can tell you more about it. Even though I didn't like the fighting / shooting system very much, the ship combat is pretty sick. Being able to change the energy expenditure from your ship with just 2 buttons and being able to target different parts of enemy ships is pretty intuitive and feels pretty smooth while doing so. You can get various status effects that can only be resolved by buying or crafting the right items, which adds a bit of depth to the combat and overall gameplay. I also have to admit that insta-swapping weapons feels very slick, and the additional powers you unlock later in the story that you can use in battle are pretty fun. In classic Bethesda fashion, there are technically multiple ways to play the game though, so trying out a stealth character that infiltrates enemy hideouts or a melee character that just bomb rushes everyone may be worth the shot whenever the shooting has gotten still. Remember the charity event mission I mentioned before? Here I was playing as quite a persuasive, smooth talking character, and I just talked someone with an important ID code to hand it over to me. People loved New Vegas. I love New Vegas. And in that game you could essentially just do anything you wanted by talking with people. So I would be a hypocrite if I say it wasn't good here while it was good here. And last but surely not least, I experienced 0 bugs or glitches that were game breaking, which should be the norm. But 1, it's a Bethesda game, and 2, it's 2023, so this feels like a blessing. To summarize, it's a Bethesda game, meaning like the weakest 6 out of 10 you've played in years. It's not a bad attempt at an RPG though, it's actually a pretty decent game. So then you might be wondering, why was I so incredibly negative for the majority of the video? Well, fucking hell, we're not talking about some indie developer who have like 20 employees and 5 part-time interns who are trying to create their first ever video game. We're talking about Bethesda, one of the biggest gaming companies in the world, who now also have the backup of Microsoft. Bethesda, a company that on multiple occasions has scammed people or lied to us about what they were trying to sell. Everybody makes mistakes, but Bethesda has only been making mistakes for years now. So they needed to do well with this game, which they have. It's a pretty decent redemption arc, if you can call it that, for Bethesda. Like, there's a lot to be found in Starfield. Quite a lot of role-playing elements, even though I personally found most of them tend to resort to just shoot everything that moves. A lot of different mechanics to experiment with, some more polished than others, and last but not least, lots and lots of content. Personally just wasn't for me. If I were you, I would wait until Bethesda has released some more bug fixes, some patches, then wait even more until they release the inevitable Game of the Year enhanced special edition, then wait even more as the modders transfer all of the mods from the original Starfield to that special edition, and then go play that version like 2 or 3 years down the line. And that's all I have to say. Bye!